Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for All You Can Eat Chelsea. Welcome back into the building. Lateness is not greatness, okay? Lateness is not greatness. I'm sorry, people. Big up your damn selves, though. Yeah, listen, yesterday's video, we tried to get it out and it had no volume. So I was like, really? This is interesting. There's no hope for me in this world. So I just deleted it and moved on with my life, right? We go again today as normal. When it's not your day, it's not your day. Do you know what I mean? You move. But big up everybody in the building, the cast and crew. Miz, the other side of the coin. How are you doing, my brother? You good? Welcome.
Yeah, bro. 2 out of 14, man. Come on. 2 out of 14, bro. How can you not be good? Buzzing, bro.
Oh my
Looking
days.
forward to Southampton to finally get a victory. As you guys would say in the Big Six, it's a must. We must. We must. It's a must.
It is. It is a must. Believe me, more than you can believe it's a must.
More than you can believe. By the way, Matisse, I don't know if you've noticed, someone put a super chat on Big Six and his name was More Than You Can Believe.
I didn't actually notice that. No, I didn't actually notice.
That's too funny, bro.
Oh, God. Younes, my brother, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
2 in 14. This is it. This is it. This is every time now I get asked how are you doing, I'm gonna quote like the latest runoff form. So tomorrow might be 3 in 15.
3 in 15.
I think it will be 3 in 15.
Or maybe 2 in 15.
Yeah.
Potentially.
It's 2 in 15. No one's seeing me.
Man's missing.
You have to start putting up missing posters for Younes. I mean, the fufu got to us in the end. That's what they'll say. One hell of a bit of fufu. That is.
Underestimate the fufu, man.
It's funny because all they unanimously on Twitter they were like, we're not really understanding. Fufu had those capabilities. Anybody I see on Twitter, they're like, we have clearly been eating fufu wrong because we ain't never seen fufu do this to anyone. So I don't know if he made a mistake or if it was a different type of fufu with different ingredients. I don't know. I didn't get to review the game, and I didn't get to watch any reviews really on the game. So I'm quite interested to see what you guys think about it a couple of days later before we kick on to Southampton. A few players I think are starting to come back into things. I think Zakaria maybe is on his way back. I know there was a night training, some smiles between a manager and players. Some nice photos went up. So the mood is good and positive. He had a press conference before Dortmund, telling people that, we do get angry, or I do get angry, of course. How would I have not over the whole span of my career? So, remember that, there is anger somewhere in him. But Younes, what was your take? I know 2 in 14. I know that was the title for you two. I saw that. What was your general takeaway? Because I watched it on a glitchy stream, which is why I tried to leave my review until later. But I do believe that these players, I mean, very similar issues that we've seen for years, really. They just can't finish. They can't take their chances. But prior to this, when under Tuchel, we were relying upon defenders to score. And now we're not. We're looking for the attackers, and they're still missing chances.
I mean, now we look back, maybe that was the solution. Maybe that was the way. Maybe all faith was lost in everything up front. So we've just gone, all right, the defense, you guys have to step in and get the goals instead. And they did. I mean, to be honest, now with players coming back, let's see. Because, well, the setup is different. Reece James and Chil, I'm not sure if they're going to have that same influence if they're not wing backs, because wing backs can bomb very, very far forward, and they can come inside and they can do all sorts in attack because they do take part in as attacking players during the game. But as fullbacks, it's going to be a lot harder, which means that we're relying on everyone that's up top. And yeah, the Dortmund game just proved that Kai Havertz, man, and the way that we're just unable to finish. And what's crazy is even Felix was, I would say, unlucky, hit the bar and whatnot. But the truth of the matter is we're not finishing. It's the same story. We're not finishing. People can say we were close or, if this and if that, and we didn't. It's the same story. So when looking to the Southampton game tomorrow, Fofana, I think everyone and their mother will probably agree, needs to get an opportunity, especially against the team that's sitting bottom of the league, where you'd think despite them sacking Nathan Jones, you'd think that we should have a little bit of ease and a little bit less pressure and an ability to score if we were to play Fofana. But yeah, that Dortmund game, despite moving a bit better, let's be honest, like compared to the other games, which I have to say, the way that I see it, is not that difficult. We played better compared to those games, but can't hit a barn door. So yeah, things need to be corrected, at least in the lineup tomorrow. And then we can go from there and see what happens.
Miz, what's your take on it? Because Felix was great. Again, I think Enzo Fernandez statistically came up great, in terms of his passing again. But those are the two, I guess, that in those moments, one is at the wrong place in the wrong time. And I don't know why we continue to keep letting have this last man defender situation from corners. And it's always the wrong man, whether it be Jorginho or it be, now Enzo. I think there's been prior situations where it's been Kante and he slipped. We always seem to leave one person, or we leave far too often, one person on a corner, on a breakaway, and then they get exposed. So, and then obviously Felix had massive chances that he didn't take as well. I mean, the second one hit the crossbar. I think that's unlucky. The first one he should be putting away. What do you make of the proceedings, I guess, in the end?
Do you know what? I was mad about the result. I was upset that we lost. And I watched Younes's videos because I was keen to see how he saw the match. And I was like, whoa, we both, even though Younes did say that we played better, but I think he was very critical about, and I think it all comes down to the fact that we've not won. I think it's all that pent up aggression and the fact that how could we go 2 out of 14? Do you know what I mean? It's sickening. But for me, that match, boys, I honestly felt we should have won. That was a win for us. Like, we created the better chances. João Felix, for me, could have had a hat trick. There was 2 really good chances in the first half, and then there was another one in the second half inside the box where he hit it straight to the goalkeeper. But for me, he was still the standout player. Even though he missed, he was still the standout player. Everything that we were creating was going through João Felix. Enzo Fernandez was good. Not the greatest of his games so far that he's played for Chelsea, but it was still very, very good. And I'll come to that. I'll come to that counter-attack very soon. But I honestly thought, and I kid you not, after the match, I was upset about the result, but I wasn't having a go at Potter for that match. I felt like he actually constructed a good setup. The setup was, and this is what I said in my preview as well, it was common knowledge that away from home at Dortmund's home ground, they were the ones that would generally have the lion's share of the possession. They were the ones who are going to be bopping it around and passing it around. And of course, there were few times it was so easy for them to tiki-taka their way through midfield. But do you know what? They didn't really materialize into anything substantial, bar maybe one really good shot in the first half from Sebastian Haller. Besides that, whether you like it or not, if the defense was fortuitous, at the end we still defended. But when it came to proper chances in the first half, it was actually us. It fell to João Felix twice. So, and in the second half as well, for the first time, we came out of the second half. And I honestly thought, hey, it looks like we could potentially win this. And then that counter-attack. And this is where I have the problem with Potter and the backroom staff. It was a good, well-coached game, that one. And I know prior to that, it's not been that great. And we can talk about that down the track. That counter-attack, I feel like, where's the communication from the sidelines? Who's saying? Because you can see, how is Enzo the only... For me, it's a rookie error. It's like you didn't anticipate that something like this can happen. Of course, something like this can happen. Dortmund are a fast team. They're going to look...
Yemi is the fastest player in the Bundesliga.
And you know what? You know what's more crazy, Younes, is the fact that a day before, Liverpool and Everton, a similar situation happened where Everton almost scored from the corner, and then Salah. But the difference there was Darwin Núñez was gunning down the track, Salah was joining in, and I think there was another third player. For Dortmund, it was only Adamay. Like even Dortmund didn't think that they were going to go for a counter-attack. They just thought that Chelsea were going to do something and then maybe it'll break. it was so naive of us to only have one player, and that's Enzo. Where was the instruction from the sidelines? If the players, for instance, are not aware, because it can happen, they're focused on going for a goal. It can happen. It should be the people from the sideline screaming out, have one more close by with Enzo, keep another one close, compact. Or Enzo should be screaming and going, because don't just leave me by myself against Aubameyang. So I feel like that was a very rookie mistake. And I don't know who was taking our corner, whether it was from the right or the left, whoever was taking, because Reece and Chilwell, both our fullbacks, are taking corners.
Yeah.
One of them should be hanging back with Enzo.
Exactly.
Otherwise, if one's taking it...
Could Enzo not be taking the corner and if one of the fullbacks not be back? Because if
who's making the decisions? Who's making these set-piece decisions?
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
yesterday, everyone on Twitter were screaming at Anthony Barry as the one that's responsible and going, he's a set-piece coach, so it's his fault. And then I think there was a tweet where there was some examples during the season of that very same sort of action happening, where we get caught on a counter. But people screaming, yeah, Anthony Barry, set piece coach, and it's a common theme. Why are we leaving just one back? This is where I have to absolutely Anthony Barry, if he is responsible for that in the training ground, right? And at training, we only have one guy defending during a set piece, or there's
That's
always
mad.
just then it's insane. If
mad.
we have two, then it means that we're not listening to what's being done in training. That means in the match we're not executing that. If Anthony Barry is doing that and it's not being corrected, then Potter, the players, are they picking it up? Are they there's so many different ways you can go at this as to where is it being let down? But to have that is criminal. One fullback should at least be sticking, or if you need both fullbacks, keep one centre back forward. You can't send both centre backs.
Or Younes, if you think about, okay, you want both the fullbacks there because both the fullbacks are quite capable of scoring. Chilwell likes to get into the box and score, and Reece James likes to get into the box and score. And centre backs are tall; they want to be there for the headers. Then bring back one of the wingers. But Mudryk, bring him back. You can't afford to have Mudryk back. Do you know what I mean? If you want to use Ruben Loftus-Cheek as a height guy to score headers as well, okay, no problems. But bring Mudryk back. Bring someone back with, Enzo Fernandez. So for me, that's probably the only critical side for that game. I felt like, okay, I can have a go at Potter for that. But besides that, I don't think Potter did too many things wrong in that particular match. I think he set us up for a victory. It's just sad that we didn't get the victory. But as I was saying offline to Matisse, at the end, you didn't win. There's a quote that's floating around of Jose Mourinho. I don't know if you guys saw this. I think goal is the one that's floating around. Jose Mourinho said,
on the Lampard. He said that during Lampard's time.
Oh, did he? Was it during Lampard time?
Yeah,
okay.
It felt like shots people felt.
He said that once big clubs starts appreciating, it was a good effort. Oh, it was, a fine performance. XG was high, but you didn't win. Once you start accepting that that's fine, you're no longer a big club. And I feel like us as a fan base, and even I'm starting to fall into the trap. I'm starting to think, XG for the last 5 games is actually better for Chelsea. So eventually those goals will come. Do you know what? I'll wait around. I'll stick around. And I'm like, what? No, 2 out of 14. No. It's not good enough.
I think the first way you looked at it is probably a better way to look at it though, because if you go for the 2 out of 14, you're going all the way back to when Azpilicueta was playing at right back. I'm personally not interested in what we were doing when Azpilicueta was playing right back or when Jorginho was playing in the midfield, because that's not the team now. I'm looking at the team right now. We've basically had a summer transfer window type overhaul. So I would like to know what he's doing with these players right now. From when they've been put in place, from when Enzo has started to play with Felix, from when Mudryk and Madueke are in, from when Badiashile is in, from when these guys are in the team, that's personally all I'm kind of interested in, because what we were doing with Azpilicueta and Aubameyang and Jorginho and Koulibaly starting next to, so it doesn't mean anything because these guys are not playing anymore. These guys are not in the team. These guys have been either moved on or they've been pushed way to the deep depths of the team. I think with us is we have to look at it. Well, the way I'm looking at it is this game in particular. I see the same issues I saw under the previous management and the previous management and the previous management. And the attackers that we brought in, funnily enough, have helped our chance creation. But I don't want to read too much into our chance creation in this match. I don't want to give too much credit because it reminds me of like a Man City away in the Carabao Cup where we had loads of chances as well. We lost 2-0. But when a team gives you more space, like Dortmund do, I expect you to create more chances. So I don't want to give too much prop because if it's up against a low block and it's a tight Stamford Bridge and we play in a Manchester City manner, then fantastic. Never seen that before. But against Dortmund, there's a lot more space. So I want to calm it on that side of things. But it's very similar to what's always been the issue, which is finishing. But at least the chance creation, hopefully with Felix and Enzo, has improved. And then now it's got to be finishing. That goes up next. That's kind of like the next piece. For me, when I look at Kai up there, although Kai actually had a decent game and he created chances for others, with Felix not taking one of them, he's not a killer. He's not a killer. And we need a killer up front. But the Mudriks and the Maduekis, the next stage for them is not only to track their runners, because I think on the goal we conceded, Mudrik could have got back. I'm not saying that initially that's where his head space should have been, because I think he was mindset-wise looking for an attacker. He was looking to be an attacker. He was on the edge of the area to attack. But when you're one of the quickest players in the team, or out there, and you're breaking records and you're running and you're grafting, you've got to sense that danger and you've got to get back. You've got to try and have the same energy you have running forward as you do running back. You've got to get back and try to stop that situation with Enzo and help him out. And then the same with the goal that we conceded against West Ham. You can get back and help Cucurella. So come and get back. Same with Madueke on the other side. You can come back and cover Reece James. This is why managers used to love Willian, because Willian gets back in both those situations.
Yeah.
But look what he's still doing for Fulham as well,
yeah,
man.
Exactly. But they're young, and that comes in part and parcel with these two. That's why out of all the signings that we made, the only two that I was fully gassed and I'm like, they're instant impacts, they're going to help us right now, is Enzo Fernandez and Felix. And that's exactly what we've seen so far. Those two, every game, are giving us instant impact. The rest of them are, little bit in and out. We'll get some dribbles completed from Madueke, which is great, but the passing's not quite there. We'll get some nice reverse passes from Mudrik, but the tracking back and some of the stuff is not quite there. That's part and parcel with what happens when you sign players at this age. Coaching. This is where Potter has to coach. He has to improve over the whatever period of time it's going to be. He has to improve these players. I don't know what the confidence is with you guys for the second leg. Big up Drogbaba in the building, because it is half time, and I guess the whole tie will be concluded and judged based on the final result at Stamford Bridge. Are we out or are we in? If we go through, then no one will care about the first leg. If we don't go through, then the whole thing needs analyzing together, isn't it? What's your, after what you've seen, Younes, from the first leg, are you confident going into the second? Because we should have won that game. I see people trying to hype up Bellingham. I don't think Bellingham was some crazy, extraordinary. I don't think he was anything
excellent.
mad. No, I think he was just decent, nothing special.
If anything, Emre Can had more impact than Bellingham during the game.
100. Yeah.
Because every time Dortmund were able to get the ball through, or even the one midfielder that was constantly finding space in between our lines was Emre Can. And then he would turn on a pivot and find the next man forward. And then Dortmund would either lose the ball or they'd fluff the chance. But overall, the second leg, I'd like to think that we win. I reckon based on that, but based on the performance, based on Dortmund as well, because Dortmund don't scare me, man. They really don't scare me, man. So this is what adds a little bit of extra, like the talent we have in the team, what we're able to do. I feel like with this team should be a comfortable win at the Bridge against Dortmund. And if it's not, then I'm confused and I'm baffed. So I expect Chelsea to get to the quarterfinal. I really do. And I think the one added element that will help us on the night, I think, will be the fans. I think will be Champions League night under the lights. that sort of at the bridge, it's a mad feeling. So I do expect that to definitely be a factor. But we have to score.
Yeah.
We have to score. So I think the lead up to the second leg is going to determine how we actually play in
Momentum.
that second leg. It's going to be the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
If we go in with momentum and we pick up a bit of form, I have no doubts we'll get to the quarterfinal. If we struggle, if we drop results, especially like a Southampton or Leeds, we got to play Tottenham. That's big. I think that's going to be the game directly before the Dortmund game. So Spurs, out of all of them, I think that's the one Chelsea fans care the most about. So it's going to be about momentum. I feel like if we go in with momentum, I feel like we'll win it. I feel like if we don't, then Dortmund, I feel like will come and just try and just probably defend and just play on the counter. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. This super chat says it's so bad. Our admins mixed up Dortmund and West Ham videos of Dortmund and West Ham. I don't know. Did I miss something?
I must have missed something as well.
I must have missed something as well. But guys, apparently that's life. This "that's life" quote is really not doing my man any favors. And of course, do you know what's so funny, right? And I'm going to take it to Drogbaba next on this one. Everybody right now is micro-analyzing everything Potter says and does. And that's understandable because we're in poor form, right? Poor form. So any press conference where he shows a little bit of dog, people are like, yes, come on, he's back. Yeah, boy. And then he doesn't crowd around players in a commotion and he kind of just stand there and looks on and they're like, oh my God, this guy back to square one. You know, and then he'll go and say something else and people are like, yes, da-da-da. And then again, you know, he won't, you know, show in a press conference what you're looking for, and then it will be back to normal in terms of like refereeing decision, etc. I have to ask you, Drogbaba, how much do you care about, I guess, his day-to-day quotes and his day-to-day mannerisms and the way that he speaks, acts, and how much of an impact do you think that is on our form, if any? I'm going to ask you that.
I don't think so. Those things make any difference. And let me be very clear. 2 wins out of 14 games is a sackable offense. Like we have seen managers get sacked for pretty much very less than this. So yeah, I pretty much get it why people are doing that. But see, if he wins the next 3 games, like Southampton we play, then we play Spurs against Spurs away is a difficult game. But I would like to believe that we can win that game because they are also not in the best of forms. And if we beat Dortmund, I don't care if what he says. If he says, okay, I like rainbows and sunshines, it's good with me as long as we win the games. I don't really care what he says in the press conferences because at the end, all that matters is how you play on the field at the end of the day. Because Tuchel also used to say many things, okay, but before he got sacked, we were not playing that well. So like that did not matter in the end, what he used to say. But
yeah,
see, micro-analyzing, this will happen till we win a football game. So I'm not really surprised we are doing
it comes from defeats. It comes from the form. Because if we're winning, right, everyone's going to be watching the press conference going, yeah, I even like the fact that he's just super chilled out because we're winning and we can't stop winning and this guy's relaxed. I mean, this is how good he is. Maybe that's what would actually end up happening, is that people actually praise Potter for the fact that he doesn't actually need to cause a commotion and we're picking wins every week. But the fact that we're not in a form, unlike Tuchel, I bet every single one of you, me included, and everyone watching, glued to every single Tuchel press conference. Am I right?
Yeah, never missed a single one.
Why? Because you can relate. Because there's a connection. It's the enthusiasm of Tuchel, and not just Tuchel, but even some past managers as well, where you just look. I mean, Lampard's Lampard because of how great he was as a player. So you would just tune in and you knew exactly the sort of way he was going to talk. But there's other managers that you just be glued. With Potter, it's just not the case. And when you see the results, now the results are the ones where everyone's trying to think, okay, what's the reason? Why is it we're not picking up wins? So micromanagement kicks in. I think it's human nature, and that's why I think now we're going into the little details. And I agree with Drogbaba here. I couldn't care less the way that he is in the press conference. It doesn't make a difference. Like if it translates onto the pitch, if I'm seeing a result on the pitch, then I couldn't care less how he speaks or whatnot. But the one thing is that seems to correlate, what many fans have made the connection with, is that lack of character during a press conference or during training or the touchline or correlated with the bad results is automatically going to be a possible reason, or one of the possible reasons as to why players are not performing. So yeah, but I couldn't care less how he speaks in the press conference, to be honest. If we're picking up results, that's the most important thing, but we're not. So.
Yeah.
And it's true. The whole, when things go south, people will microscopically look at everything, every word that he says, even if it's, a particular word that stands out, although it might have been used in the right context. Like, the fact that he said that's life. If you really look back at what he was trying to say, that look, sometimes this goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. That's life. If we were in a winning momentum, we'd probably be overlooking that. But because we were in a losing momentum, we go, that's life. Come on.
Every little thing is going to piss people off. Mason Mount decided to go to the rugby. That somehow pissed people off.
And
he's not even playing.
And
he's not even playing at the moment.
If you guys remember in the reverse fixture, when West Ham came to our home, when we won in the last minute, when Havertz scored that winner, there were a couple of decisions that went our way, which gave. So I'm absolutely on board with Miss. Like, if results would have been going our way, we wouldn't have been, caring what Potter has to say in the press conference.
Bat an eyelid. And as Matisse said, like, a few people were very mad at Mason Mount getting their yellow card against Dortmund. Of course, it was a silly yellow card, but like people, when you're in a bad form, they will go at you about every little thing. My thing is, the last press conference before the Dortmund game, and this is where I would love Graham Potter to focus more. The little bit, and I know he's been mocked about that, and he's been, people been saying that dog in him, and carried on a little bit about that. But I personally, for the first time, that little clip, I didn't watch the entire press conference before Dortmund, but that little clip where he went at the journalist by saying, if you think that I don't get angry, someone who's come from the bottom of the pits, worked themselves all the way to Chelsea at an elite club. If you think that I don't get angry and I just got here by chance, then you don't know anything about anything. And I love that. I love that because for the first time I got to connect with him, I felt like I know I've gone through struggles in life. And I know when people have talked down on me, and I know how that has felt in my life. And I feel like Potter's got to do that. He's got to somehow connect with the fans a little bit more through these press conferences. And that might be the one thing that can still sort of keep him going with the fans, especially. This is the thing that Tuchel did so well with us. He made us feel like we can feel his pain. Right now, no one feels Potter's pain, but I can guarantee you he's hurting. He's hurting. Potter's not going home feeling happy and going, that's life. No, he's upset. He's burning inside that. I'm sure he's putting in the hard yards and it's not turning out to be wins for him. And he then has to pick up the phone and talk to these owners and has to explain what's going on. I'm sure it's not a pleasant feeling, but I need him to, even though he said in the press conference that I don't like to carry myself that way. I don't want to give things to the press. They'll go and write a whole heap of articles that will create. I get that, but every now and then, my man Potter, show that human quality as well, because we will then feel your pain. Because right now we are hurting, and it sometimes looks like maybe you're not hurting. And if you just show that you're hurting as well, maybe we can understand a little bit. Because there's no doubt Potter goes home and he's happy. There's no doubt about that. I don't think he's happy about the situation right now. And I'm pretty sure, damn sure, that he wants to change things around. And I hope he does. But
I feel like, so from my side of things, I feel like regardless of what he shows to an extent, if he doesn't get results, he is still going to be in everybody's bad books. And as well, he probably should be, right? Because we need to start winning games. So even if he does show, he could lose 3-0 and show a bit of dog, and then lose 3-0 again, show a bit of dog, and keep losing and keep showing dog. And I'm not gonna lie, that dog is gonna be in big shit.
It's gonna be a chihuahua.
It's gonna be a chihuahua. Very facts.
Keep
so
showing dog.
For me, it's kind of up to people to I think he's leaving up to people to make that assumption, or not even make that assumption, but to make that kind of informed decision and guess that he is a manager that has his first opportunity at the big time. He was very comfortable at Brighton. If he wanted to continue to be comfortable, he could have stayed at Brighton. He has taken a massive job, a career-defining, life-changing job. I'm going to just make the assumption that he gives a shit, because it's impossible not to. It's absolutely impossible for him to not care, or for him to not, be worried, or for him to not be working overtime. It's not possible for him to not be dedicating every ounce of his day, which I'm sure he is, to try and get these results on track. So for me, I just make that assumption, which is why the only thing I'm really looking at is what is going on that pitch. Am I seeing improvements? Am I seeing this team actually going in the right direction? And when you look at the attackers we've signed, unfortunately, the only one that actually relies upon for goals is Nkunku. That's the only person that actually has a goal output. Mudryk doesn't have a goal output. Madueke doesn't have a goal output, and Felix. None of them have consistent goal output. So some sort of shooting drill needs to be done again, it seems, for all of these guys as well, because none of these guys are potent finishers, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think for us, when I'm looking forward, I'm just looking at how we're playing mostly. I don't watch the press conferences, like I said, because they're bland. They're really bland, and I've come to accept that's just who he is. I just think he's a bland kind of person. I think that, in general, I think that's just what he's going to give us. I don't think he's going to perk up and become, even if we start winning. When Brighton were winning, I think when I seen he wasn't going crazy. He was just pretty calm. I think he's just calm regardless. He's just that type of person. I've just kind of accepted it. But if we're winning games, we're playing good football, I don't need to hear what he's got to say after and before matches. I don't need to see it.
But the only thing I'll say about that, it's what Younes just said. And I think it's true in this day and age. And I was talking to my younger brother about this. Boys, do you remember back in the days, like when social media isn't as prevalent as it is right now? Those were men. Like if you heard John Obi Mikel's podcast, like how he was talking about the players that he played with, they were men. I feel like these days the players, right, they're so involved in social media, everything they see, everything. I'm telling you, all the Matisse quirky jokes, tweets, every single one of these Chelsea brothers is checking up on that. Every time Younes does a quote tweet, they are checking up on it. Every time I share a fail comp, they are checking up on it. So, and then everything that Drogbaba does as well. So, look, at the end of the day, like these players, I think for their sake, as Younes was saying, maybe it's a negative thing that he's bland like that. Maybe he just needs to be a little bit more exuberant just to get them. Because after every press conference, everyone's laughing. Everyone's finding a little quirky thing about what he said, and they're making a big deal about it, and they're laughing about it. You think these players are not looking at this and not feeling a little bit demoralized by?
I don't think the players should be watching his press conference.
But they do, though.
They should be listening to what he says to them on a day-to-day basis. If I was a player, I don't need to watch him speak again. He talks to me every day. Whatever. Now, obviously, I get what you're alluding to, is that he could be, the way he is in the presser is maybe what he is behind the scenes, but we're never going to know. Or if that's him consistently. Like he said, he does get angry. He does give you different levels, but in public, he's only going to give you one way. He knows him better than I will ever know him. So I'm going to have to choose to believe that. But if I'm a player, I don't need to hear what he said in the presser, because he's here every single day to talk to me on the training pitch, before matches, after matches. He's with me all the time. So they have to be listening then. Surely they need to be listening to what he's saying then.
The only thing is public perception, isn't it? And I think the players maybe have an interest in just what has he said to the public.
Yeah.
Like,
what does the public think about him?
Because it's the only outlet that we're going to get as the public in terms of as a voice.
But all of the players, some of the players like Reece James speaking out seems to be trying to rally the troops and say, "Listen, guys, we're in the right direction." I
mean, this is the thing. Chilwell spoke as well, and this was a key, because everyone seemed to relate exactly with what Chilwell said. Chilwell come out and was straight up, "We ain't got any excuses. We need to win. It's not good enough." We don't get that really from Potter. From Chilwell, after he said that, everyone was going, "Oh, you see, he's got it. He's got the right thing. Well, how come Potter doesn't say the same thing?" It's just that, what I think people are screaming out for? I think people are screaming out for honesty. No camouflage, no trying to make it seem like, "No, everything's all right. It's all right. Don't worry, it's fine. It's fine." Like, no, instead, if we haven't got a result, it's okay to come out and just be like, we're not happy. It's a poor performance. Shouldn't be playing at that level. We need to do better. It's for me, it's unacceptable. Or maybe not as harsh, but to just show an element of honesty. Don't, because I think the way that is perceived is some fans, and maybe some match-going fans will feel the same, is that for the ones that actually pay to go and watch the games, that maybe their intelligence is being insulted, and that's what you don't want. A little bit of honesty in just terms of even when it's not going good, just to say it as it is. I think people at that point can't say much more. They go, well, he said the truth. We move, and I think that's it. So yeah,
it's an interesting one because there's nowhere to run against Southampton at home. That has to be the right result. You can't not beat Southampton at home. It's just inexcusable, literally inexcusable, as Chilwell says. When we went through the team, I mean, Koulibaly actually had a calm game, so fair play to him. He was actually a leg up. I don't think that means he comes in. Yeah, I don't think that means he comes in against Southampton or anything. But it's good to see that in the Champions League he could be dependable, which is nice.
We can give rest to Thiago Silva in the Southampton.
Yeah.
Do you think so? Do you think we can afford to?
I mean, Southampton, we should be fine, right? Because we are not conceding huge amount.
Hey, slow down there, buddy. Slow down there,
Drogba's
buddy.
like, we should be fine. No,
See, I'm talking about the defensive side of the game.
I'm not taking no chances with nothing, bro.
No, but in all seriousness, we have conceded only one goal. If you take out the Dortmund game in the Premier League, we have conceded one goal in.
But that's with Silva. That's with Silva in there. Now, come in Koulibaly now on the right side.
Man, he's 99 years old, man. How long can he play week in, week out?
Well, I mean, as long as we can be shit, as long as we can't win.
do you know what, Matisse? I think Baba has a point here. I reckon Silva might be rested for the Dortmund game.
Yeah, but can we? My question is, can we
afford to
rest Thiago Silva when we need a win desperately against Southampton, or do we try to win the game early and then take him off early? Because God forbid Silva comes out of this game, Koulibaly makes a mistake on the right side of a back four instead of the left, because Badiashile is going to move over. God forbid there's no leadership between these two, and Badiashile was kind of working alongside Thiago's leadership and his experience and his know-how. And God forbid these two drop a clanger together for the first time they play together, and we concede early doors. Ward-Prowse, free kick, someone's rash, a Koulibaly gets the yellow card, edge of the area, Ward-Prowse top corner, 1-0 down inside 5 minutes. To be honest, I don't think we can afford. I don't think we have the capacity or the facilities to drop Silva. I'm not going to lie to you. We need the big boys out, the super team. We need everybody on deck. This is a must win. We must. If we don't win this, I'm gonna just leave it. I'm gonna just leave it to the
and
dogs.
It's good to build up momentum as well. Like, you want to put up the momentum with.
I just don't want him to get injured, man. That's it.
I hear you. I hear that.
True. I mean, I guess that's part of the risk of football as a whole, isn't it? It can happen. But the thing is, after this game, we have 1 week, so I think it's enough to take the risk to get Silva to play 90 minutes, and then maybe you can sleep for a week if you want.
Yeah, we don't play Dortmund next week.
Because we don't play Dortmund.
Yeah, we don't play Dortmund. Next week is the other round of Champions League games. We have a week off. There's no FA Cup. We have a week off. So resting him and then having a week. Resting him, conceding in a team that struggles to score at home, tight pitch, and then potentially not winning, and then he has a week off anyway. I'm not having it. For me, he has to play. And then you have a week off to rest, because it's what is that moment from Shrek where he's like, it's a chance I'm willing to take, where he says some sort of line. This risk here, this gamble, I'm willing to take the gamble of injury, because we need the win that badly. As far as I can see it, we absolutely need the win. If we play around here, and Southampton, by the way, they're a decent team when they want to be. They beat Manchester City in the Cup 2-0.
Mate, they're actually not in that bad form, considering it's Southampton. You'd look at what they've been doing recently and you'd think that's Southampton. Early Jan, they beat Palace, and then they beat Man City and knocked them out of the FL Cup. Then they beat Everton, and then they started losing, right? Then they beat Blackpool in the FA Cup, and then they lost to Newcastle, lost to Brentford, lost to Wolves, and then their manager got sacked.
Yeah.
Funny, isn't it? So now with that,
They are
You're
without a
cheeky,
manager,
bro.
but they are without
You're
a
a cheeky
manager.
man.
With that,
I'm going to ask a question for Younes after this, actually.
I got a question as well. I got a question as well.
after that, now they're playing us, and we're their first game since Nathan Jones got sacked. And although they've not appointed anyone yet,
No manager bounce.
so that adds another thing. Like, there shouldn't be any manager bounce. There's no manager.
No, but
They've
there
got
has
some
been
geezer
no
in
manager
charge.
bounces before. Tottenham had a no manager bounce. Conte wasn't there and they beat City.
But they don't need no bounds. They're smack bang bottom. If they want to save their life, like they should fight. Here's the
Bottom
question.
of the league, bottom of the league, no actual manager, a caretaker in charge who's just come in for like a game or two, and we're at home and we've got all our players back. Like, there's no reason to not win.
Here's the question for you guys, right?
Yeah.
It's a must for me. Matisse said it's a must for him. I'm pretty sure for Baba, it's a must as well. For Younes, it's been a must for a very, very long time.
must.
For me as well, to be missed. For me as well, it's been a must for a very, very long time, and we just don't get it. But here's the question. I know where Younes stands in regards to Potter. He's already made it very, very evidently clear that he's not the right guy for us. I'm very much on the edge. Like, I'm trying to hang on, but I'm about to fall. I'm about to fall over, right?
This is the game that will make you fall if we lose this game.
But this is the thing. This is the question
Or
I want to
even
ask
drop
you.
points.
The owners are giving us the impression it don't matter, Matisse. It don't matter. 2 out of 14, 2 out of 13, 2 out of 15, 2 out of 16, 2 out of 17, 2 out of 18, 2 out of 20, if it needs to be. It don't matter. That's why I'm saying, for me, it feels like this is actually a write-off season. It don't matter. It don't. You think Potter's going to get sacked if we get knocked out by Dortmund? No. You think Potter's going to sack if we don't get 3 points against Southampton? No. So my question to you guys is, what's the point of being Potter out? I think let's just accept the fact that he is staying hook or crook. Crook.
Usually
he's staying.
And
next season is the judgment season.
Usually my general rule of thumb is I give players a full season, and I'd like a manager to have his minimum opportunity to have his first full season, i.e. he gets a preseason, i.e. we cleanse out the team and we get rid of the players that shouldn't be here or don't need to be here, and that we actually see after the season starts, right? You actually see now, is he equipped to compete? Because next season, I don't expect to be anywhere near this. We shouldn't even be having these conversations. Next season, I expect to be firmly planted in the top 4. And not only that, I expect us to be jousting near the top end and trying to knock on doors and cause chaos. A bit like how Manchester United are doing right now with Ten Hag. That's what I expect. And if he's not doing that, then I think it's a lot easier to actually say, okay, you've had your opportunity now. We've cleansed the team for you. We've cleared out the team. We've brought the average age of the team down. We've brought good quality technical players. There's not an overload of players either, so you're not having to work with 35 people. And you've had your preseason. There is now no excuse really for you not to be performing to a certain level. And I'm not saying there's excuses now, but I think there's a lot more context now. And I think that's why I don't do the 2 out of 14, because there's 2 completely different teams. There's 2 completely different lineups in that. 7, 8 changes to a team. That's basically a whole new team. So I don't really care what happened prior when those players weren't there, because at the end of the day, they're not here anymore. That's the whole point. So I get it. I think for me, unless he starts moving absolutely there's an untenable position that we talk about, and that is now disrespectful. And it is, to be fair, where we are is already disrespectful. I think because Liverpool are down here as well, it kind of makes it a little bit more hilarious on the banter side of things. But if we start dropping into the bottom half and there is some sort of scrap here, then of course you just have to pack up your bags and go. But it shouldn't even get to that. And I don't think it will, because I do see us gradually improving, and I do see us picking up more points and moving up the table. Now, are we going to move up the table as quickly as we want to get into a top 4 conversation? I don't think we are. I think it's going to be, 2 wins, 1 draw, 2 wins, 1 draw, 2 wins, 1 defeat. It might be like that. Defeat away to one of the big boys, maybe Arsenal, maybe Man City away in the league. I think it could be like that as well. So I don't think we're actually going to gather up enough points to get into the top 4, but I do expect us to finish in the top 6. That's how I see it. I expect us to finish in the top 6
this season. And what happens if we don't?
If we don't, they're not going to sack him. And like I said, I will give him the full season. But I'd be disappointed. I think I'd be extremely disappointed with this group of players and with the amount of time he's got to bed them in and then put together a style and put together some sort of template. If he's not finishing above Brentford, Brighton, Fulham, that's hugely disappointing. And for me, that only puts more pressure on him next season. I think too much of the time when we talk about managers, especially this early on, we do in out and there's no middle ground, there's no grey area. When you play FIFA, there's critical, there's moderate, there's very good, there's great, there's overachieving.
FIFA,
bro, it's true, but too much in life and too much when we're talking about jobs and we're talking about one or the other. We're going in, out, and we're not giving any grey area. It's very okay. And people think if you're not in, out, if you're not in some sort of cult, if you're not in some sort of camp, not saying that Younes is, because Younes actually was bang on from the beginning. He was like, I don't think he's the right man. So fair play to Younes.
From the beginning, when it was
before he was even born, he knew he was the wrong man. When he came out of the womb, he knew. So fair enough. So that's why I respect it. You know what I mean? That's why I like having these debates and these different opinions. But people act like as if you're not in the in or the out camp. I'm not in the firmly like in. I think Potter's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think he's a good coach, and I've always said I think there's other parts of his managerial credentials that are up for question that he's got to show that he's capable of giving or bringing to the table for Chelsea to show if he's good enough. But I want to see over time if he has that. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I'm very patient, but there's a grey area, and I think if you're not in or you're not out, that's okay. You can be in the grey area. You can be in the unsatisfactory area. That doesn't mean that he has to be sacked if you're in the unsatisfactory area, but that means I'm not impressed. You're not doing well enough at your job. I'm expecting vast improvement very, very soon going into the next season, potentially, if that's what you're at. And I think that's okay. It depends on your tolerance, depends on your patience, depends on how much you believed in him in the first place, depends on what your expectations are of him. My expectations actually of him is not actually to win a Premier League. I don't expect him to do that. He might not be that guy. I expect him to clear out the team, get rid of the over excessive players, get us playing a better brand of football, a better style. And then if he has to hand it over to an elite manager, then when that's done, because I don't want an elite manager to come in and the team's not ready, because that's where problems start to emerge. When we bring in a manager too early because we're not ready to actually cherry on top of the cake, then they get frustrated. They bring your attitude in the press conferences, but it might be a Conte type attitude where it's like throwing the toys out the pram because why is this not ready? Why is this team all over the place? Why have we not got a striker? Cleanse the team, get the players in that we need. If it's an Ivan Toney, if he stopped betting and the ban ain't there. And then if that's as much as you can do, then when the elite manager comes in, everything's ready. The average age is down and we're ready to go now. And then I'm like, fine, you've done something for us. Fantastic. Cool. That's how I see it.
I do want to say, well, on the availability of elite managers, I think that's where it comes down to, because I know there are people that are skeptical, but they're like, okay, we can't really pull the trigger now anyway, because there's no one out there, right? So we're going to have to wait, and that's fair enough. However, I do want to say about what you said, Miz, about the owners are just not going to get rid of him. It's just not happening. And personally, look, the way that I stand, I do agree with what you said, Matisse, at least to an extent in terms of the improvement that we have to see. We're not saying that Chelsea have to be flipping, Champions League winners this season, go and get top 4. If not, no, like nothing stands. No, but with the signings, with the January window that no one really expected, I don't think anyone expected to see what we saw in January. But with that many players and that much talent coming into the team, you expect improvement on how we were prior to that, right? It has to be. So to an extent, yes, going from now and these players being available and players coming back, that's going to be the real test to see if we are actually getting better, if we are going to see improvement. And up until the end of the season, that should be pretty evident. But the one thing, this conception that I initially did think, right, that the owners aren't going to move. Just like, no matter what, Potter's here. So we should get on with it. I think when it comes to the fans online, yes, I agree. I think the power is with the fans that go to the games.
Sure.
I think the match-going fans, if they like it's been done before, club to club, if they show enough discontent during a game, owners will move. I feel like if it's loud enough during a game and it's clear as day by the match-going,
they might not, Younes,
but they might not. Like right now, this is what I was going to say. Right now, We've not seen any of that.
But even if they see discontent, they might be so stubborn and so committed because the way that they're moving, they believe so much in what they're doing. They really do. They're like, yo, this guy, we have to protect him at all costs. You know, when the president shows up in Washington in the limo and they've got like 10 police vans around and they're just shielding this man who has all this power. That's basically what they're doing with Potter. They're shielding him. They're like, yo, nobody chat to this guy. This is our guy. And people say he's on a 5-year contract. I hear that. I'm not saying that he's going to get to the end of his 5-year contract. This is his first year, right? Second year could be about, like I said, you need to be in the top 4. You have to be even knocking on doors for top 3 if you get another crazy window. Try and win a cup. You need to try and win a cup. You need to win a cup. You know, let's stop losing in finals. Get to the semi-finals of the Champions League. That would be great. That would be progression. And then maybe in his 3rd season, when it's time to win, he might not give you that. But then he's got 2 years left, 2.5 years left on his contract, and that's a different type of conversation. But I agree with you. If the fans were to make enough noise, it would be interesting. I would be intrigued to see what the hell their reaction is, because you've never seen.
Yeah.
But they might just be so stubborn and they might just be so fixed on what they're doing that they might just be like, no, there's no way we're budging. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This super chat says, Josh, what are your thoughts on us signing Neymar? I'm not going to lie to you. I think this is. I didn't really give it any attention because I just don't see it happening. If we're going for Felix, and apparently George Mendes and Todd Boehly have built up a great relationship, and we want Felix, then that's that. We're gonna get.
Ben Jacobs reported today that there are no talks.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. Do you know what I mean? We go and get Felix
because of ZH. The relationship between the two clubs is at a very low point right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So you go and get Felix. That's your 10. And Nkunku also plays behind the forward, so you have to make that work. In my opinion, it would have to be some sort of box midfield 2-2 like Barcelona. That could work. And we move. Do you know what I mean? We move. Miz will know because Miz watching Barcelona. Basically, your Gavi Pedri positions, basically. And then you go with 2, maybe 2 behind that. But yeah, for me, that's not going to happen. Besides, when Stanley would have our new board appointed Potter comparing our signings in June to January, most of our June signings are crap. If you go back in time, maybe they don't. But I want to ask Younes, who would you appoint now if you were to say if you were to sack him, right? Who would you appoint right now? I've always wondered who, because for me an interim is not the one, purely because we saw what happened with Rangnick at Man United. It needs to be somebody who's like firmly fixated on doing. There needs to be some sort of sudden shift, right? That's the whole point. Impact. I don't think anybody's listening to an interim because he's literally gone in 6 months. So, who are you looking at out there that you're thinking, yeah?
And this is the point. This is why it's difficult to come out and say sack him now, because deep down you can't. There's a difference, at least for me, in saying sack him now, and I just genuinely don't think he's the right guy. It doesn't mean that we're gonna have to get rid of him today, because it is unrealistic. If we were to get rid right now, the solution is to get an interim. Who would that be? I can't even say. It's difficult because there's no one out there.
I don't know, Younes. I mean,
Flick.
Why is Flick coming to Chelsea matches twice now? Watching. I mean, surely you're not watching Havertz.
The next
Euros, there's not much to watch there.
The next Euros is in Germany, isn't it? And he's just survived a poor World Cup, so I don't think he's moving from Germany.
This is the thing. There's people that have quoted like managers like Zidane. There's some people even said go and get Tuchel again because he'd accept. Like it's very unrealistic. It's not going to happen. But with Flick, when you see a national manager at a game, it tends to be because they're looking at
Havertz,
their players. Right now, you don't need to be at a game to notice what Havertz is doing or not doing. That's just the truth. I think it's.
I would rather stay away from the game. Watch it from the TV.
But let's also, when the first time he popped up, I was just under the impression it's okay. Some national managers, they go to games. They just want to see football in living color. Southgate goes to games. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's just pinpointing on all the English lads. Could be, but sometimes he's just there, I guess, to just watch. When Flick was there for the Dortmund game as well, I'm like, okay, well, that's 2 now. We'll see if he's there for Southampton. If he is, then we might be onto something.
He's just watching games, Younes.
So it's and funnily enough, someone's just mentioned it. Someone said I've seen this mentioned as well in terms of an interim. Let's get John Terry in. I don't think that's right for him. if I'm honest,
that's unserious. That's very unserious.
I don't think that's good for him. Right?
That's mid-table talk.
He needs to. I feel like he's done well in terms of his career, his managerial, his coaching career. Let's say, keep him on that track, and I think he'll do well when he gets to it. But right now, it is logical, unless if there's someone in the backroom staff that steps in, just like they do in other clubs, that will take it until the end of the season. The only way is to just go and ride until the end of the season and see what we can do then. But to say that's an emphasis, just keep Potter in the job, for me, no. Unless, and I've said this, unless we see significant improvement and it starts to show that there is something, then fair enough. At that point, he deserves the opportunity to keep going. But we'll see what happens up until the end of the season.
The only thing that Potter can elevate Potter is if he becomes ruthless. There have been enough folks who have been on the bench time to take tough calls. I've had enough he's had enough of a look in. I think, to be honest, he has made tough calls. I'm going to stick up for him here. He's dropped Koulibaly, who's a senior player. He's dropped Cucurella for Lewis Hall many times. He's dropped Mason Mount, right? And a lot of people haven't taken kindly to that. They've been asking why he's not being posted by the admins and whatnot. So he's been dropped. So he has dropped quite a few players, to be fair. You know, Gallagher was taken out of the team the last 2 games, which was good to see for me personally. Now it's Kai. Now people are looking at Kai Havertz. I think I have a lot more sympathy for this position, because as much as I don't think Kai Havertz is good enough to be up front or even behind the striker, I don't think Kai Havertz is good enough to be playing matches, to be honest. I've said it before. He's playing on default. He's had some nice moments in games. He's had some decent performances, but we concede the upgrade from Mount to Felix in that role. I would have no doubts that we will see the upgrade from Ivan Toney from Kai Havertz in his role, right? You want to just keep going and upgrading each position. We're going to have no problems, because we're going to keep seeing new levels. The difference is with Kai is that there is no Felix in his position. It's Fofana. And as much as everybody wants to get Fofana in this team, and I get it, I said it when Fofana was signed. He is a kid from the Norwegian league. If you think Fofana's going to come into this team and he's just going to start blitzing it, and he's not going to show any errors or any technical faults or any issues in his game or any missed chances, you're having a laugh. And then if you think that he's going to not get crucified and slandered for missing said chances that potentially cost us points, you're also living in another universe. So if he's managing Fofana because he doesn't think he's ready, because he's with him on a day-to-day basis, a kid who's come from the Norwegian league is not ready to start for Chelsea Football Club, I'm not going to kick up a fuss, because that sounds about right. We're only looking for Fofana to start is because we're so frustrated with Kai. It's not because Fofana's ready. Let's make that very clear. There's a very clear distinguish here. Fofana, it's not. We're not saying Fofana should start because Fofana's ready, because it's good for Fofana's development, because it's the next best thing for Fofana, who should probably be going out on loan, if we're being real. If this was the real Chelsea, if this was a Chelsea in the top 4, a Chelsea competing for trophies, Fofana would be out on loan. So we're not asking Fofana to start for his own goodwill. It's because we're looking for Kai to come out the team for some people, and that is not the best way to always throw in a youngster to develop a player. So I understand why people want to see Fofana, but it's not something that I'm going to just live and die by. If Fofana doesn't start, then Potter's a this, that, and the third, because he's working with Fofana every single day. Nobody has been watching Fofana for a full 90 minutes in Norway anyway. All people have seen is a few comps, right? And a few clips, and Fofana has scored some nice goals. He showed some nice pieces of skill, as Mudryk has in the Ukrainian league, where the deficit in quality is massive, and they're assuming now Fofana, because his idol is Didier Drogba, or because he's from the Ivory Coast, now suddenly he's ready to play Premier League football. It doesn't work like that. And I remember when Armando Broja was in the team against Brentford, and he actually had a very good display, but he missed some chances, or he didn't make some crucial decisions. Everybody's saying Broja's overrated. Broja's rough. He's not good enough. He needs to leave. And he's only 20 years old, and he's actually already played a Premier League season with Southampton, and even he wasn't ready. So for me personally, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's only going to go one way if he doesn't start banging in the goals immediately, which he probably won't. So I don't know what you guys' thoughts on it with Fofana. I want him to start against Southampton. But at the same time, if he doesn't, I'm not confused as to why he's not.
there is Aubameyang as well. We have to remember the Champions League squad is not in, but for the Premier League, Aubameyang's available. So there is that. I agree personally with what you said about Fofana. I think that's spot on. I'd love to give him a chance. He deserves a chance because we haven't seen him properly.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe he is, the bee's knees. Maybe he does come in and smashes it. Who knows? But there's a good chance that he won't, as people want. Maybe he might get a goal. Maybe he might have a few chances. He might make some good runs. I mean, that 15-minute cameo that we saw from Fofana looked great. But that's only 15 minutes. That's all we have. That's the
against
only...
tired legs as well.
This is
starting the game is completely different.
It's different, and I'd expect that. Look, if you're at Chelsea, you have to be of a certain level. So, regardless, we can't be too kind and just go, "Oh yeah, it's fine," because if not, we're going to be saying that's life for the rest of our lives. But I think with Fofana, there's an element of he deserves an opportunity. You are at Chelsea, so there is a standard. Even if it's going to take you time to properly settle and whatnot, cool, but show us the bare minimum at least. However, if that doesn't translate, right, then Aubameyang is there, and I feel like, look, we haven't played Aubameyang since we've got these signings. We haven't played Aubameyang with Felix yet, and Enzo, and these guys. So who knows? Maybe Aubameyang's experience might kick in. Maybe he actually does feel a little bit at ease with players like that behind him. It's an opportunity. I feel like in the Premier League, we've got two options now. Instead of just Havertz, we've got Fofana if we do want to give him the chance. We've also got Aubameyang. Champions League is a bit different, and we're a little bit stuck in the mud in that one because there's no strikers in the squad. So, yeah. But for the Premier League, we should be all right.
Yeah.
The whole... Before we even talk about Fofana, and I agree with everything that you guys have said, I would try out against Southampton, someone like Fofana. Not because I believe in Fofana, it's the fact that Havertz has been so poor, we might as well. And this is the question. In regards to why not Fofana, why not Aubameyang, I think the question is, why stick around with Kai Havertz? He's not giving you anything at the moment. That's the question. So once you realize the issue, and the issue is that guy is not really giving us what we need. And I know a lot of people will throw jibes at saying, but last game he could have got 2 assists against for João Felix if João Felix finished. I get it, but his overall package, man, you've got to look at the overall situation, not just the 2 moments, which were big moments, but it's other stuff. Like there's a clip that's gone around, and I remember
that clip
distinctly how it was a nice through ball from Ziyech, and he ran into traffic when he should be running straight. It doesn't matter how many assists you get. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? That's mad. Do you know what I mean?
Apparently, because he's left-footed, so it was his only way.
Well, make your right one as good as your left then.
Mate, we're talking about elite professional footballers at the highest level, and the excuse from some people is, he's left-footed, he's got to go in that direction. I'm sorry, but...
I'm sure you could run straight, progress the ball a little bit further, and wait for someone to come and help you out in the box where you can maybe square the ball and pass. Look, there were other moments as well where he got bullied off the ball, he can't hold on to the ball. So the question is, why persist with Havertz? And once you have that question, then you start looking at, okay, well, I can't persist with him.
I agree. Yeah.
Then I go with whoever. And the whole treatment of Abba, I was under the
Are you annoyed about the Champions League register?
I'm not.
Doesn't make sense. Because there's 4 goalkeepers in the squad, isn't there?
Look, I'm not annoyed about a manager not fancying a player. We've seen many managers not fancy certain players. It's not a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
Sarri didn't fancy a lot of the players. Lamps didn't fancy a lot of players. Tuchel didn't fancy a few players. And same thing with Potter. That's fine. But I feel like Potter, maybe for a second, take the ego side of it, like put that aside for a second and think about, what do you need to win games? I was honestly thinking, with all these new players that have come in January, then maybe Oba probably gets... Imagine having João Felix just behind Aubameyang and having Enzo just behind them, and then maybe having a Sterling or Madueke on the right. Like, Do you not think that maybe
One question, guys. One question here. If we were to get past Dortmund and go to quarterfinals, and Havertz was not available due to some injury or any issue, who plays the striker then?
it'll be João Felix?
It will have to be.
It'll be João Felix. João Felix will play as a false nine, and he'll come in sort of midfield, and then you'll have the wingers. Really, I believe it'll be Sterling and Mudryk who'd want the half spaces.
Sterling could play. Do you think Sterling could play as a striker?
Yeah, he used to play false nine there.
Potentially, he could play as a false nine.
I'd probably prefer. I don't like Sterling at striker, but I'd probably prefer to put Sterling there than João Felix. I think João Felix is so integral to everything we do in our chance creation in that area that I would rather have Sterling up there, kind of like pressing, running, making those runs, and Felix finding him. And then if Sterling can finish, he can finish. If he can't finish, he can't finish. That's how I probably.
It could very much potentially be where João may look in the formation when they lay out the formation as the guy through the middle, but he would be deeper, whereas Sterling and Mudryk would be the two up front really, and João just plays in the middle. Yeah. So I could potentially see that because Sterling's not bad on the right, to be honest. And for Mudryk, I don't know, maybe it might actually suit him to be closer to the goal. So as opposed to being always out wide. Which will allow for Chilwell to bomb forward as well. He loves to bomb forward. So, yeah, coming back to the whole point of Aubameyang, like, surely take away the ego now and maybe start thinking about playing him in the Premier League. If you can't use him in the Champions League because you haven't registered. And to be honest, it's mad. Ziyech, who was literally a PSG player, how's he getting to play in the Champions League and Oba is not? Christian Pulisic is injured. How's Christian Pulisic going to feature anymore in this team?
To be honest, we don't really need Pulisic to feature. Like, look, he's leaving in the summer. Again, this is another player that probably needs to leave. He's not.
But is he writing a book though?
He's not reliable. He's not reliable from a fitness standpoint. Unfortunately, he's unreliable. That is also an issue. If we're going to build any sort of long-term chemistry, understanding, system, style, we need players that can play consistently, so then they can build momentum. You don't see, top teams chopping and changing every single week because injury here, injury there, injury here, injury there. So I think his time is done. I think it's best for him to move on as well, to get regular game time, to be a starter. And the same applies for us. We've just brought in Mudryk on the left. I expect Mudryk to be starting most games and to be developing. 100%. So yeah.
Well, 100 million, you're not dropping him.
No. And with Fofana, I agree with you. I want him to start against Southampton. I just hope people don't build him up too high and then chop him down if he falls, type of thing. Fans can't sack Potter. All we have is our opinion. It's very, very true. Surely, if we lose, I pray not. We are in relegation. No, technically not. But it will feel like we are. We basically may as well be. Why did I see so much energy from attackers after we conceded a goal? Where was this energy from minute one? Except Felix, everyone at some point was standing still. I think the fullbacks didn't overlap really in the first half either. I think the game plan was to be a little bit more conservative in the first half, and second half go for it. But in the end, you can't make any mistakes in the highest level of football. You're going to be punished. Before we wrap up, I mean, also there is Carney, who people ask about. I mean, we don't really see him too much. We don't really see him too much coming off the bench. He was on the bench last
unused
and unused again, which is a bit strange because Potter was the one, not Tuchel, to be honest. It was Potter actually that really gave him the opportunities in the team. He was the first one to give him the opportunities, but he doesn't seem to be favouring him at the moment at all. He's not even coming off the bench in moments where he could probably impact games. And I would say he's more ready than Fofana again because he's played Premier League football and he was at Aston Villa making cameo minutes there as well. I was going to ask as well, and we're gonna go around. Drogbaba, we'll start with you. On this Mount situation with the contract, as time goes on, are you caring less and less the conclusion? That's how I'm starting to get. I'm like, do you know what? I don't really care what happens at this point. I'm starting to lose any real interest in it. I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. Today it's come out again that, I think from Nazar Cancelo, the relationship is kind of being tested. High stakes talks with João Felix now in the team. We now heard about João Felix potentially being signed up because of the whole relationship with George Mendes. That doesn't help Mount, because if we're going to play a 4-2-3-1 most of the time, that is his position. He can't play anywhere else really outside of that 10 role. He's not going to play out wide. He's not going to play where Enzo plays, and he sure as hell ain't going to play DM. So what would you do, I guess, right now with his reported demands, and what's your stance on it at the moment?
I think a lot of it depends on who's the manager is going to be, to be honest. Like if Potter is the long-term man, I think he would want Mount in his team. And you have to have a plan, because as you've said, Nkunku comes in, he also likes to play behind the striker. You are looking at Felix, you are looking at Felix and making him a permanent Chelsea player. Then you have Mount. And you have three top tier players, not top players, but three start worthy players in the same position. How are you planning to do this? Again, same thing with Neymar also, like that Neymar tumor. Like how will you integrate him in the team? You have to have plan for all these players. If you have a plan for Mount, then it's okay. Because if I personally don't see Mount featuring in the team if Felix were to stay and Nkunku is to come in yet. So I don't think so Mount stays in that case. And if whatever the reports are coming in right now that we might use him as an exchange for the João Felix deal, it might happen. And owners are apparently in love with João Felix, and they are looking to make him permanent. And
they want to build a team around him.
They want to build a team around him. So it does not really look very positive for Mount at the moment. I hope that whatever chances he gets in this season, he steps up and creates that problem, that dilemma. Okay, what we do with him now, based on his performances, not because he's a Chelsea born and bred and all of those things, but I want his performance to go up, and that creates a headache for the management, for the owners. Okay, what do we do with him now? But I somewhere down inside me, I hope that we find a solution to all this and are able to keep him.
I mean, another point as well on the Neymar thing is that he's 31 and João Felix is 23, and we all know what age range we're shopping in at the moment. So that was, again, it's never going to happen. It's why there's no video on it from me, people. Younes, what about you, bro? Where are you at with this? It's funny because after all of the arguing from different accounts, like, oh, you can't say that, and now it's starting to get a little bit sticky icky.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it will come down
It all started from my failed comp, by the way.
That's when time really, really froze for Mount.
It did. At the end of the day, look, I think it's when these players, whoever it is, they're going to look at their careers first. They're going to look at what's on the table for them first. Don't expect someone to be blindly loyal to whoever, an organization of any type, even if it is football related and it's Chelsea and he grew up a Chelsea fan, he plays for Chelsea. He's not going to give, everything without getting something for himself. That's illogical. And now he wants a big contract, one of that reflects an England international. So I'm guessing he wants the same that or near to what Reece is getting and some of the other guys. I have to say though, I think all of that is void. I think the reason why things have not been sorted yet is because Mount will go. And I feel like there is one fundamental here that doesn't help Mount and probably is the reason why things are being held up. And I think that's because Chelsea's homegrown quota needs to be met according to who we've bought, the balance in the books, FFP. The homegrown quota is kicking in, and that means we need to get rid of some homegrown players. And right now, the one with the value is Mason Mount. And if a contract's not going to be agreed based on what Chelsea want, which we now know the new owners are looking to bring the salaries down and to base things based on incentives and to add added value based on incentives, bonuses on top of a base salary. Any contract that was negotiated under Roman, fair enough. They got away with it, right? And you can actually say they got away with it. Mason Mount hasn't. And now I feel like what he wants with what the club are prepared to do and the fact that he's homegrown, if he wasn't homegrown, I think we might find a solution. The fact that he's homegrown, I feel like is a more of an incentive for Chelsea to go now. You know what? We're not going to come close to what you want. In fact, you're going to help us by selling us and getting us the money that we actually need and FFP off our backs, and it means we get Felix. So I think Mount will go. That's my initial. I think he'll leave. I think he'll leave.
Wow. What about you, Miz? Do you think he's gonna leave? Because if he leaves. And Gallagher, I mean, for me,
Gallagher's leaving as well.
Would need
and
to
Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
You think
they're all got to leave? They all got to leave, bro. They all got to leave. We're going to bring in a new bunch of whole youngsters coming through. Lewis Hall will probably get some minutes in midfield next season. We may even think about bringing some of the other youngsters along the way. Charlie Webster. Gallagher will come to Mount very soon. Gallagher was. What was the bid on the final few days? 45 million?
45 million.
45 million.
As Younes said, there's value for these homegrown players. So, our owners will look at that and go, cha-ching, we are cashing in on these players. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I'm not really sure how much.
He probably doesn't command that much, to be honest. Out of all of them, he'd probably most likely to stay. Abroad, I think AC Milan or Inter Milan. They got no money. They broke those teams. Yeah, how many times we negotiate with these two teams? They come with like 3.75 million shillings.
Yeah.
No, there is a thing very quickly about Hudson-Odoi, Loftus-Cheek. And I forgot who else. But there was those three players that could bring in the value of around 100 million if all of them are sold.
Good.
Gallagher.
I don't know about 100 million with like Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I can definitely see him. I don't know if there's another Premier League team, potentially another Premier League team.
You should be able to get
30 million. You should get 30.
I think
you should be getting 30 for Ruben.
Hudson-Odoi, I don't know how much.
Yeah, also about 25, at least 25. Well, Arsenal's looking at Hudson-Odoi. But anyway, coming back to the Mount situation, look, I've said it in my recent streams that I think there's a value in Mount. Like, I'm happy to keep him as a squad player. I don't think he's a must starter anymore. I don't think
he wants to be. Do you know what? Yeah, I think.
And he probably doesn't want to be.
As much as people would like to pretend that players don't have egos, if I was him and I had won 2 Player of the Years in a row, and I'm not saying one is deserved or whatever, but if I was winning 2 Player of the Year in a row and I was starting and I was scoring against Porto,
you build a team around me,
and I was assisting in the Champions League final, and I was leading in goal contributions last. You think you're gonna tell me? That I'm not playing? Are you mad?
I get the Mbappe contract. Contract at Chelsea. I should be Mbappe at Chelsea.
And it's the ego, because it's like, especially when I've been here before you even got here, I've been here for years, and you're gonna try to tell me that I'm not starting? Nah, piss off. And then you can see that there's links to Man City and there's links to Liverpool. The ego has to come in. It has to.
Look,
to get to this level, you have to have a little bit of an ego anyway. I think all of them, they have to. Unless you can go to Kante. Kante doesn't have an ego. He doesn't know what that is.
I think the whole if Mount is believing these Man City rumors, then other things he needs to worry about in life. Do you know what I mean? Because I can't picture how Man City goes for.
You don't think he could be the next De Bruyne?
Oh. Pause. Look, I can
never rule anything out of Pep. He could do anything with anything.
Yeah, he's a magician, of course. Look, with Klopp, I can see him really getting the best out of 100%.
Mount. He's got Liverpool written all over him. Yeah.
Pep, the way they play and the way they move, it's going to take a while.
But you know Mount what? I'm not really. But Mount. I think if it was Gallagher, I'd be like, no chance, no way. But with Mount, I feel like he's now in a crossroads between being a player that's actually very good footballer, right, or being what they call a road runner, right, because of the role that people give him, press from the front, cover the ground, Southgate's what they use him for, etc. I still believe there is technical quality in the player. I still believe that he has ability, and if a Pep was to take a chance on him, it wouldn't surprise me if the one touch and move Mount comes back into play. I'm not saying he's going to be he's not even going to be probably a starter. He'll probably be a squad player. But I wouldn't be surprised if he went in there and after being coached, he actually became a very good player again, and he actually didn't look like what we're seeing. because I think there is ability there. I've seen him not make Felix in a Champions League game. I've never seen Gallagher do that. So that's why
I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned about Mount ability to perhaps play a 1-2. I'm more concerned about his ability in Pep's team to be positionally aware. Pep's team is not just about the 1-2.
That's coaching, isn't it? That's coaching.
Pep's team, if you see the people that don't have the ball and where they're positioned all the time, I don't think Mount sometimes realizes in Chelsea where he is in the field positionally. He thinks he's a number 8, but he operates as a striker at times.
Or left winger.
Or a left winger. And you have to wonder, my man, you said you are 8.
Yep.
So why are you operating in... So, and it's not just with the ball, without the ball as well. So I don't know. I think with Liverpool, look, I'm also thinking he's going to leave. It makes sense. He's not looking to sign a new contract because he wants a lot of money, which in his case is warranted because, as Matisse said, his CV states that he's done a lot of stuff for Chelsea Football Club. But that's not something that Chelsea is willing to do, as Younes said. It's a clash between two different sides of the poles here, and it's just not going to happen. And it's going to come down to the situation where I think Mount will be happy to perhaps move on. Obviously, he would have loved to get that contract extension, but if we're not going to strike a deal, he'd be happy to move on and start his career elsewhere. At the end of the day, these players, they'll go where they need to. It's all about looking after their family. It's all about looking after their well-being. They're not going to be footballers for the rest of their life. They're going to make the money right now and set up their life for the rest of their, however many years they have, right? So, and I think from a Chelsea perspective as well, Mount will yield at least 50 to 60 million. Easy. So...
Yeah, no, I agree. The only reason why it's actually capped off at that maybe is because of the whole year.
The contract. Yeah.
This person saying us playing Mount in the front three has damaged his development. I agree. I completely agree with you. I think less minutes and more focus on his actual position would have been better, but it is what it is, Time is a bitch. Yeah, we're gonna
sorry, I have to shoot.
No problem.
Now.
100%.
Very, very sorry, yeah.
Yeah, listen, Younes, guys, make sure we're gonna wrap up anyway in a minute. But guys, make sure you subscribe to Younes, man. His link is in the description. Big him up every single time, man. We'll see him again next week, my brother. Do you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Hopefully after a W.
Take care, bro. Bye-bye.
Let's hope for 3 and 15. See you a lot later.
Big up, bro. Big up. We're gonna wrap up now anyway, guys. Obviously, yes, Ian Matson, Levi Cole. We'll see what happens. That's more names as well. Homegrown talent potentially to come into the squad next year. We'll have to see. Miz, let them know where to find you, bro. Any final thoughts you want to get off your chest before the Southampton game?
No, not really. Well, so many thoughts that always, run around, but nothing in specific that I want to bring out except the fact that, let's get a win. Let's build a bit of momentum. Let's turn those XGs into proper wins for us. Justify the XGs now. The other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen, about 500 away from 21,000. So let's get there. And just got the preview coming up and then the watch along. Really tossing up if I should do the watch along for the Arsenal and Aston Villa, because all this time I didn't want to do any watch alongs for Arsenal because they were doing well. And now that I'm sniffing that they're doing poorly, I feel like I need to come back and watch them suffer. And I think Good Evening is gonna do a bit of a madness this weekend. So I might have that, and then obviously the Chelsea game. So
there you go. Drogbaba, pleasure, bro. Let them know where to find you. It's been a pleasure, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, man. Same here. Again, Drogbaba, the YouTube channel, and same handle. You will find me on Twitter and Instagram, everywhere. Just hoping for a win against Southampton, and it's a must win game. I get all of that. I am also with giving Potter time and trusting the process for a bit. But this is a must win game, and we cannot lose this, man. We just cannot drop points against Southampton at home, man. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What would that mean for the team morale, man?
We really can't, like, honestly.
I don't know, man. If the XG is good, I don't think it's going to mean something. I'm being serious. If our XG is good and we draw,
that's life.
That's life, and it's a positive direction.
He's got the dog in him.
We need to win. We really need to win. Just so I don't have to hear about XG again. We just need
to get the dog out.
We need to win. Bro, the player he's already shown some dog. I hope the players are gonna show some dog as well. Do you know what I'm saying? It's about time, man. They need to get ruthless with the finishing. Why are professional footballers struggling to finish so much? It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
The goal size doesn't change, man. Fix up, guys. Smash up the likes if you haven't already, and we will see you next week. Obviously, it's way later this week because I was away. And yeah, until the preview, I'll drop the preview later today. Then the watch along tomorrow. We go from there. Until then, big up your damn selves. In a bit, people. Peace.